Welcome to today's video. My name is Cheryl. I use they, them pronouns. I am a queer mystic who is also autistic. And while you will find in the library of this YouTube channel so many resources that I created over the course of exploring who I am and how I want to take up space in the world, I came home to having autism. I didn't know I was autistic for a very long time. Even though I always knew there was something different about me, I interpreted that difference as to be something that was wrong. And maybe you can relate. So, what I'm trying to do, and I get better at it over time, just like I'm sure you get better at things over time as you go, as I'm trying to create this atmosphere where you don't need a label unless you want one. And you can find commonality in our stories so that you can make a better, empowered decision about who you want to be, how you want to be, who you want to work with, whether or not I'm the coach for you, or whether or not you're the coach for you. Because some of us do actually work phenomenally better on our own as little detectives because of our pattern recognition and our desire to be correct, not right. We care a lot about the facts and things we can measure. But how do we deal with that when we come into sensory overwhelm, sensory processing differences, and experiencing our emotions differently than we were taught about them growing up? So, one thing that is really, really common to people with autistic brains is that we have a hard time knowing what we're feeling. And I don't just mean anger, sadness, happiness, joy. I mean, there is a common thread to a varying scope where some people might know a little, they might know a medium amount, they might know a lot, but there's certain aspects that they're out of touch with the thing called introspection. So, hands up if you have ever finished being in a creative vortex or watching a show or being out with friends and you realized one of the following things. You forgot to eat. You haven't eaten since at least 12 hours ago, and you can't figure out why you're so tired and grumpy, and suddenly you're very emotional and realize that you're hungry. You're so far past hungry that you feel nauseous and dizzy and like you might pass out. So that's missing hunger cues. You realize that you've had a headache for 3 days, but you also haven't drank water. Yeah, okay, that one. Or you don't know you have to go to the bathroom until immediately before, or you maybe struggle with infrequent incontinence. That is also a very common thing. And all these things are so shamed and so tabooed, and we don't even sort of think about them until they impact our lives. They might keep you from going out. They might keep you from socializing. They might cause so much anxiety that you need to be near a bathroom all of the time, or you have never ending snacks because you've created a system to support your needs because the accommodation isn't there for you. So, I want to touch on this thing where we perceive that there's something wrong with us because we're different. We perceive that our brain and our body must be broken because of X, Y, Z. And I want to ask you where that belief came from. If you're to take a few deep breaths here right now, you can put a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly, or not, whatever's more comfortable for you. I want you to breathe in through your nose if you're able, feeling your belly expand. And then hold it just for a minute to remind your body that you have control over your breath and not the other way around. And then exhale. One more time. Okay, breathe in. Feeling that belly, holding it, feeling the suspension of the air in your body. And this time when you release, I want you to also release where you're holding tension in your body if possible. Maybe you unclench your jaw. Maybe you raise your eyebrows up and you bring them back down. Maybe you squeeze your eyes shut and then release so you can feel that difference. I'd like for you to make your hands into a fist if you're able and then release them. Do the same thing with your toes if you're able and release them. Do the same thing. Squeeze your muscles in your legs and your body and release them. And notice the difference. Feel it. Anchor into your body. We have been so sensory overwhelmed and gaslit by how big and annoying we feel the various things. Like right now, I can feel the hair tickling my neck, and I probably won't make it past this video for very much longer without putting it up because of the sensory overwhelm. My brain has a harder time filtering out all of that information that non-autistic people do without even having to think about it. They don't have to think about what to ignore. Their brain just automatically filters out the irrelevant details. For us, our brain thinks every single detail is relevant. You may run into this when you're telling a story. But your brain thinks every single detail is relevant to its safety. It's evolved that way. Your nervous system has evolved in such a way that it reads the temperature of the room, the tones in people's voices, all of these different things that other people do kind of on the background without ever needing to see it. Your brain is buffering. Your brain is processing. Your brain doesn't know how to context hop that quickly, especially if it's undernourished, especially if it's dehydrated, and especially if it didn't get enough rest and you don't have the accommodations you need. So the work that I do with in my own body and with my clients starts in this realm of learning the subtle art of noticing, validating, and addressing my needs. So just before I hopped on this call, I needed to brush my teeth because they felt really gross and they were distracting me. I needed to change my shirt and I needed to find my headphones because today there's a lot of distracting for me noise happening. I live in Canada, in a part of Canada where the spring is starting to come back. The birds are really loud. The construction on my street is really loud, but you can't hear it because I have my noise canceling headphones on and I have the filter set on my recording device to filter out any background noise. This allows me to stay completely focused on you and delivering this talk instead of trying to close out all of the distractions around me. I get to just accept that they're there and make an empowered decision to accommodate my needs. That's why I'm pivoting from social media platforms like Meta to YouTube slowly over time because my capacity doesn't allow for me to just leave Meta and go on to a different platform. I need to allow myself a spacious transition. It takes as long as it takes without me being a failure. This call takes as long as it takes for me to get the talk out and chat with you without it being too long or too short, without me going on too many tangents, because I'm not wrong for who I am and how I am. The way that I am most authentically me is correct. And it will change over time. As we learn more, that data goes into what I saw a post online this morning, our lore, and we adjust our context and our identity. So many of us spent so much time masking who we are and trying to fit in and doing all the things that everyone told us that we were supposed to do, that we learned from birth to disregard the signals telling us this feels wrong, this feels inauthentic, this doesn't feel safe, I feel overwhelmed. When I feel overwhelmed, I get emotional. When I get emotional, I shut down. When I shut down, I lose friends. When I lose friends, I feel lonely. When I feel lonely, I get hopeless. When I get hopeless, I get hard on myself. When I get hard on myself, what comes next? Yeah. What if there's nothing wrong with you and your brain is just different? And you've been trying to learn from people who don't understand how much your autism impacts your day-to-day life. It's my mission not only to help people realize that they're not broken, it's also my mission to help you realize that if all you ever do in your life is exist, you're already a success.